As of this morning, the United States is applying a 25% tariff on imports of steel and aluminum. We deeply regret this measure. Tariffs are taxes. They are bad for business and worse for consumers. They are disrupting supply chains.
Europe has taken a dramatic and unexpected turn, unleashing a series of actions that have sent shockwaves through international trade and industrial sectors. The latest developments have seen European powers launch a counter-offensive designed specifically to target the backbone of American manufacturing, the car industry, while simultaneously shaking the foundations of the United States political and economic landscapes. The unfolding events have left industry experts, government officials, and citizens alike grappling with a myriad of questions about the future of transatlantic relations, economic stability, and national pride. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The catalyst for this unprecedented confrontation appears to be rooted in long-standing tensions and mutual grievances between the United States and Europe over trade imbalances, perceived protectionism, and the very different visions for economic policy that have long divided the two regions. Recently, newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump made a bold move by announcing a suite of tariffs aimed at several key trade partners, a decision that was met with immediate outrage and disbelief both domestically and abroad. This tariff decision was not merely an isolated policy shift. It represented a significant departure from established norms of free trade and cooperation that had long defined transatlantic economic interactions. In response, European leaders mobilized in a coordinated effort that was both swift and decisive, orchestrating a counterattack that has been interpreted by many as a direct challenge to American economic hegemony. The measures taken by European nations are multifaceted and have been carefully calibrated to exert maximum pressure on the U.S. car industry, an industry that has long been a symbol of American ingenuity and resilience. In a series of calculated moves, European manufacturers and governments have signaled a willingness to leverage their technological prowess, financial clout, and market influence to undermine the competitive position of American automakers. The rhetoric emerging from European capitals conveys a message of defiance, that the days of unchallenged American dominance in the automotive sector are numbered, and that a new era of industrial competition is rapidly taking shape. Central to the European strategy is the belief that the U.S. tariffs represent not only an economic imposition, but also a direct attack on the principles of fairness and mutual respect in global trade. European leaders argue that the tariffs, by effectively penalizing American imports and creating an uneven playing field, have disrupted a delicate balance that has been maintained for decades. In response, European policymakers have mobilized resources and forged alliances that transcend traditional boundaries, uniting disparate national interests under a common goal: to recalibrate the global automotive market in a manner that favors innovation, sustainability, and long-term stability. The counteroffensive is being perceived by many as a definitive statement that Europe is unwilling to be coerced into accepting policies that threaten its industrial base and its economic sovereignty. The implications of this dramatic confrontation extend far beyond the immediate economic impacts on the car industry. At its core, the dispute is emblematic of deeper ideological and political divides that have been simmering beneath the surface of international relations for years. On one hand, there is a growing sense among European leaders that the old order of global free trade, once taken for granted, is now being upended by unilateral moves that prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability. On the other hand, the United States, emboldened by a political shift that emphasizes nationalistic policies and the reassertion of American exceptionalism, is pushing forward with an agenda that many see as increasingly confrontational and insular. The tariff announcement by President Trump was, for many, a symbolic gesture, a signal that the United States is prepared to prioritize its own interests, even if it means alienating long-standing allies and disrupting established economic relationships. This confrontation has thrust the automotive sector into the spotlight, with both sides recognizing that the car industry is not just an economic asset, but also a cultural and symbolic cornerstone. For decades, American automakers have been synonymous with a particular vision of freedom, innovation, and the open road. In contrast, European manufacturers have long championed precision engineering, environmental sustainability, and cutting-edge technology. The clash between these two industrial titans is more than a competition for market share. It is a battle for the future direction of the global economy. As tariffs and countermeasures are implemented, the competitive dynamics of the car industry are being redefined in real time. Analysts are closely monitoring developments, noting that shifts in consumer sentiment, supply chain adjustments, and strategic realignments within multinational corporations could all play a part in reshaping the market for years to come. The economic dimensions of this conflict are complex and far-reaching. The imposition of tariffs by the United States was intended to safeguard domestic industries and stimulate local production, but it has also raised significant concerns about the broader consequences for global trade. European nations, in launching their counterattack, have signaled that they are not willing to accept a scenario in which protectionist measures by one side dictate the terms of international commerce. The resulting tit-for-tat exchanges are expected to have ripple effects across a range of sectors, from raw materials and components to finished goods and technological innovations. The interplay of supply and demand, cost structures, and competitive advantages is likely to result in a recalibration of the entire automotive supply chain, a process that could have implications for workers, investors, and consumers on both sides of the Atlantic. Political considerations have also played a significant role in shaping the current landscape. The decision by President Trump to announce tariffs came at a time when the nation was still coming to terms with a period of profound political change. The newly elected leader, known for his unconventional approach to both domestic and international policy, has been a polarizing figure from the outset. His tariff announcement was seen by supporters as a bold assertion of national sovereignty and a necessary step toward protecting American industries from what they perceive as unfair foreign practices. Critics, however, viewed the move as a reckless gamble that could trigger a cycle of retaliation and erode the foundations of international cooperation. The shock expressed by many in the United States is not simply about the economic implications of the tariffs, but also about the broader message that the political establishment may be steering the country into uncharted and potentially dangerous waters. European reactions have been equally impassioned, with leaders articulating their determination to stand firm in the face of what they view as aggressive and unilateral American policies. In a series of high-level meetings and press conferences, European officials have emphasized the need for a balanced approach to trade that respects the principles of mutual benefit and reciprocity. They have pointed to decades of cooperation and interdependence that have underpinned the transatlantic relationship, arguing that the current crisis is the result of a departure from these shared values. The European counterattack, therefore, is not merely a response to the tariffs themselves, but a broader critique of a system that appears to have lost sight of the importance of collaboration and partnership in an increasingly interconnected world. Economic theorists and policy analysts have been quick to weigh in on the potential ramifications of the emerging conflict. Many argue that the current situation could lead to a realignment of global economic power, as nations reassess their priorities and strategic alliances in light of the growing protectionism. The automotive sector, with its extensive network of suppliers, manufacturers, and distributors, is particularly vulnerable to shifts in trade policy. A disruption in this key industry could set off a chain reaction, affecting not only related sectors such as steel production and electronics, but also the broader economic ecosystem. The challenge for policymakers on both sides is to navigate these turbulent waters without triggering a full-scale economic collapse, a task that requires both ingenuity and a willingness to engage in difficult negotiations. The current events also raise important questions about the nature of modern economic warfare. In an era where technology and globalization have created unprecedented levels of interdependence, the use of tariffs and countermeasures as instruments of national policy represents a significant departure from traditional approaches to international diplomacy. Instead of resolving disputes through dialogue and multilateral agreements, the current scenario appears to be characterized by a zero-sum mentality, where each side is willing to impose economic pain on the other in order to secure a perceived advantage. This approach, while potentially effective in the short term, carries the risk of entrenching divisions and creating long-lasting animosities that could undermine global stability. The emerging conflict, therefore, is not just about the fate of the U.S. car industry. It is about the broader question of how nations can coexist and cooperate in a world where the stakes are higher than ever before. The cultural implications of this confrontation are also significant. The automotive industry has long been a source of national pride, embodying a spirit of innovation, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence. In the United States, the car is more than just a mode of transportation. It is a symbol of freedom, opportunity, and the American dream. The sudden focus on the car industry as a battleground in this geopolitical struggle has stirred deep emotions among citizens, evoking memories of past eras when industrial might was a key indicator of national strength. For many, the idea of their beloved car manufacturers being targeted by a foreign power is both a blow to national identity and a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in an increasingly globalized economy. The European counterattack, on the other hand, is being interpreted by many as an assertion of a different set of values, ones that emphasize collective responsibility, innovation in the face of adversity, and a commitment to environmental and technological progress. European manufacturers have invested heavily in research and development, pioneering advances in electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and sustainable production methods. Their actions in response to the U.S. tariffs are being seen as a validation of this forward-thinking approach, a demonstration that long-term strategic planning can yield significant dividends even in the face of immediate challenges. This clash of ideologies, with one side embracing protectionism and the other advocating for progress and global cooperation, is at the heart of the current conflict and promises to shape the economic and cultural narratives of both regions for years to come. The strategic calculations behind the European measures are complex and reflect a deep understanding of the interconnected nature of modern global supply chains. Rather than simply responding to the tariffs with equivalent measures, European leaders have adopted a multi-pronged strategy that leverages the full spectrum of their economic and diplomatic assets. This includes deploying targeted subsidies to support key industries, engaging in negotiations with third-party nations to create alternative supply chains, and using the power of collective bargaining within the framework of international trade organizations. Such a comprehensive approach underscores the seriousness with which Europe views the current crisis and its determination to reshape the rules of the game in its favor. The emphasis on coordinated action, rather than isolated measures, signals a shift in how international economic disputes are being managed, a shift that prioritizes collective strength over individual interests. Economic policy experts are now grappling with the broader lessons that can be drawn from this dramatic episode. One of the most significant takeaways is the realization that unilateral measures, even when well-intentioned, can have far-reaching and unpredictable consequences. The decision to impose tariffs, while aimed at protecting domestic industries, has inadvertently triggered a cascade of responses that may ultimately undermine the very goals it was meant to achieve. The ensuing cycle of tariffs and countermeasures has the potential to disrupt not only the automotive industry, but also the broader fabric of global trade, leading to a period of instability that could reverberate across multiple sectors. The current situation serves as a stark reminder that in today's interconnected world, the actions of one nation can have immediate and profound impacts on others, creating a web of dependencies that is both intricate and fragile. As political leaders and economic strategists continue to analyze the situation, there is growing recognition that the conflict represents more than just a battle over trade policies. It is a contest between two competing visions for the future of global commerce. The American approach, characterized by a focus on national interests and a willingness to use tariffs as a tool of economic policy, stands in stark contrast to the European model, which emphasizes multilateral cooperation and long-term strategic planning. This ideological divide is not merely a matter of economic theory, it has tangible implications for how countries interact on the world stage, how industries are structured, and how citizens perceive their place in a rapidly evolving global order. The intensity of the current standoff has forced observers to rethink traditional notions of economic power and competitiveness. No longer can nations rely solely on historical advantages or the inertia of established practices. The modern geopolitical landscape demands agility, innovation, and a readiness to adapt to unexpected challenges. In this context, the European counterattack is seen as a bold assertion of the region's commitment to remaining competitive in a world where technological advancements and market dynamics are constantly shifting. The focus on the car industry, with its intricate web of relationships spanning multiple countries and sectors, serves as a microcosm of the broader economic contest, one that is being waged on a global scale, with stakes that extend far beyond the confines of any single industry. The response from domestic audiences in the United States has been one of disbelief and concern, as citizens try to make sense of a scenario that seems to have materialized out of a confluence of long-standing tensions. The shock expressed by many is not solely about the economic ramifications, but also about the perceived loss of control over a key component of American industry. For those who have long identified with the legacy of American manufacturing, the idea that the car industry is now under siege by foreign powers is deeply unsettling. The sudden reversal of roles, from being the dominant force in the global automotive market to facing a coordinated assault on its competitive position, raises fundamental questions about the sustainability of current economic policies and the resilience of industries that have long been considered invincible. At the same time, the European initiative is being lauded by some as a necessary corrective to what is seen as an imbalanced and unsustainable approach to international trade. The tariffs imposed by President Trump, while heralded by supporters as a means of protecting American jobs and industries, have also been criticized as short-sighted measures that could lead to a tit-for-tat escalation with far-reaching consequences. European leaders contend that by launching a counterattack specifically targeted at the U.S. car industry, they are sending a clear message that economic strength and national sovereignty cannot be secured by isolating oneself from the global community. Instead, the future lies in building robust partnerships and developing innovative strategies that transcend traditional paradigms of competition. The unfolding events have ignited a heated debate among scholars, policymakers, and industry experts about the long-term implications of this confrontation. There is a growing consensus that the current crisis could serve as a turning point in how global economic disputes are handled, prompting a re-evaluation of existing trade agreements and a shift toward more integrated and cooperative frameworks. In the midst of these debates, one thing remains clear. The current standoff is not a transient anomaly, but a reflection of deeper systemic challenges that have been brewing for years. The clash between American protectionism and European multilateralism is emblematic of a broader struggle for influence and control in an era marked by rapid technological change and shifting geopolitical alliances. Throughout the unfolding crisis, both sides have maintained a steadfast commitment to their respective economic philosophies, with little sign of compromise on either end. The announcement of tariffs by President Trump, with its bold assertion of American strength and resolve, has been met with a resolute counterattack from Europe, a maneuver that underscores the complexities of modern economic diplomacy. As the world watches this dramatic showdown unfold, the stakes for both regions have never been higher. The confrontation, rooted in decades of divergent economic policies and competing visions for the future, has now reached a critical juncture, forcing decision-makers to confront the realities of a global system in flux. The intensity of the debate has only served to highlight the interconnectedness of the global economy. Every decision, every measure taken by either side has the potential to trigger a cascade of reactions that extend well beyond the immediate context of the automotive industry. For instance, the focus on protecting the U.S. car industry is not merely about safeguarding jobs or preserving a national symbol. It is also about maintaining a competitive edge in a sector that is increasingly defined by rapid technological advancements and environmental considerations. In an era when electric vehicles, autonomous driving technologies, and sustainable production methods are rapidly reshaping the landscape, the contest between American and European automakers takes on an even deeper significance. It is a battle for the future of mobility, innovation, and economic leadership in a world where the rules of the game are being rewritten before our very eyes. As European leaders press forward with their countermeasures, the message they send is unequivocal. They refuse to be sidelined by policies that they perceive as unjust and counterproductive. The measures that have been implemented are both a response to immediate economic pressures and a strategic maneuver aimed at recalibrating long-term competitive dynamics. By targeting the U.S. car industry, a sector that has long symbolized American industrial prowess, Europe is not only addressing what it sees as an inequitable economic policy, but is also attempting to set the stage for a new paradigm in international trade relations. The broader implications of this shift are profound, as they hint at a future where economic policy is not dictated solely by national interests, but is shaped by a collective commitment to fairness, innovation, and mutual respect. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Europe's counterattack against the US car industry? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.